Welcome to the Unbreakable Podcast, where we break barriers and build thriving real estate careers. Hi, I'm Racynta Abdullah, a real estate expert, author, growth coach, and your guide to resiliency in real estate confidence and success. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, you're not alone. Here we share real strategies and inspiring stories to help you take bold action and unlock your full potential. Join the Home Chaser Network, where ambition agents like you get the support, tools, and connections to thrive. It's time to rise, thrive, and claim success you deserve. Let's go. Welcome, and I'm happy to have you because I saw your portfolio online and I was like, oh gosh, she's a celebrity.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but thank you. I've been at it for a while. It's interesting. You talk about the celebrity thing. I've been asked to be on those TV shows 2 or 3 times, and I've avoided it only because for my sons and my wife are much more private, and so.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with me. I used to be like very private, and now I'm trying to come out the box to be more on social media, more active. I've been that relationship realtor where I go around and get my business by building those relationships,
Yep,
and it works. But now
that's
everything
how I
is
did it.
shifting.
We're the same path there, Cinta.
Yeah, because everything is shifting and they want me to be more on camera, to do more things. And I'm like, well, I got to do it. I got to do it. Every day I'm going to do it. And I never get out there every day and show everything that I'm doing. But I think I'm going to build a baby community up to try to help agents. So that's why I started this, because I want to be a vessel used to help and serve others, not just, and just show them the way. Because I did it on the market here, high sales, and we averaged 200,000. So I feel like if I could do it, anybody can do it. And your market is booming still.
Well, I agree with you. Well, I swim with a bunch of piranhas and sharks, but it's okay. You know,
But see,
I
I
I
love those.
I
I love them.
I'm a firm believer, just like you, and I think it was gosh, what was his name? Napoleon Hill. He said, if you want to be worth a great value, be of greater value to others.
Yes,
So that's
yes,
what you're doing. So kudos
yes,
to you. And that's
yeah,
one of the reasons why I signed up to your podcast. I like the title Unbreakable. And,
yes,
resilience is a key factor. I think, one of the biggest things, and one of the things I do a lot of nonprofit work. And one of the things I do is with Ambassadors of Compassion. And we go into inner city schools and we do resiliency training. And,
yes.
during COVID, it created a lot of mental health issues with a lot of people. And so many people took their lives or
Oh,
made bad decisions because of the lockdowns and things like that. So, um,
because
and
it's a lot, and it's Mental Health Month. May is, and that's
yeah,
what
it
I
is.
said. I want to get out and talk and do segments and talk to agents and tell them it's okay. Sometimes we got to give ourselves grace on the inside and stop trying to compete with others, and just compare. Don't compete, compare. Just be our authentic self and show up.
It'd be better than yesterday. And know someday you're going to have a setback.
Wow, yeah, and I love resiliency because I'm one of those that I was teen mom, came from this, came from that, and I just soared off relationships because I think relationships is the key in the dynamics in our business, not just
Good.
our business, in our lives. So yeah,
Did you say teen mom?
yeah, I was a teen mom.
I love that. So, one of the ways that I built my business, because I'm from Maryland, I'm not from California.
Uh-huh.
So the thing that I had to do would be a value add. What skill set did I have that many people out here didn't have? And I played Division I lacrosse in college, and so
Uh-huh.
there weren't many lacrosse coaches out here. So I started programs, and
Yeah.
then I had people giving me their addresses, their phone numbers, their emails. Much easier to get them when you're coaching their kid than what it is at an open house, right?
Right.
And at least get their real address and their real email,
Uh-huh.
real phone number. So I got all those, and then that became my market. Those people, they say the home is the most expensive investment someone makes. No, it's their
Right.
kids, their children's most expensive
The
investment.
value. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and if people trust you with their kids, they'll trust you with selling their home. And at least I always made sure that, that I was really big and proactive in helping the kids get to college. I wrote letters to colleges, called coaches, did whatever I could to help in the recruiting process.
Wow.
Right.
I love it. So really seems like you built your industry off of your reputation off of serving first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
And,
that's
and
all way
that's
along.
me. Yeah. And my thing is grabbing my head around serving online. And then I see the multitude where people attach or well, not attached, but basically be like, oh, could we connect or get emails? Sometimes I get on Zooms and things like that. I'm like, well, what gift do I have that they see? But then I realize they just really want authentic. They want people to understand who they are and to be heard. So that's the number one thing. And I just really feel like I hear that in you too, that you like to connect with people and add value, even with their kids, but that's how you built your business up.
Well, I see real estate, and my whole philosophy of everything is
Mhm.
being a community builder, right?
Yes.
The philosophy of my real estate team is we improve the values of our communities by improving the value sets in our communities.
Mhm.
So, for instance, you give me a community with better schools, you give me a community with lower crime, you give me a community where people take care of garbage off the streets,
Uh-huh.
and what happens to that property value,
Yeah, it goes up.
right?
Skyrocket.
And that simple thing. I grew up in the inner city in Baltimore. Like, I mean,
Wow.
my
I
mom
rode through
did.
Baltimore one time and I was like, oh, this don't look like much, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I rode through coming from Pennsylvania and I cut across one time and we stopped, me and my kids on the spring break. We just took a road trip to Pennsylvania up by New York and came back down. And I was like, oh, Baltimore.
they used to film Homicide in my neighborhood.
What?
They
Oh
did, yeah.
gosh.
And,
Oh.
and now I'm out here selling luxury real estate in California.
But even when you was a kid, tell me about that, Mark. You just knew it was a yearning desire that you was going to do more and have more and be more, right? Or was
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and be more from be more, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was always, it's interesting because I definitely went by the beat of my own drum when, my friends were out doing things. I just had
Mhm.
loftier goals. I was really, I mean, I got teased about it sometimes because I was such a goody two shoe growing up. Like, I had friends they weren't derelicts, but they like to have fun and
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
Before we had the internet and cell phone cameras and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, thank God. Right. Anyway, so they'd be out running the streets and stuff like that, and I would be at the gym or doing something because I knew that for me, I had to get a scholarship to college. I had to find a way to do that, and I did.
Mhm.
And then, you know, uh, I parlayed that into making the right friends, and then eventually moving out to California. A friend of mine who lives out in California, who I first came to work with, is a self-made billionaire. Again, another guy from Maryland.
Ah.
He's on. His name is Glenn Stearns. He's on the Undercover Billionaire show, and he is another testament about resiliency. Brilliant guy, hard worker, and just hustles. Right.
Wow, that is remarkable. So you just connected with the right people and you went to Cali. How did that work? Like leaving one side of the US, going to did you have friends over there? Was he there first?
He was there first, but we weren't really friends so much as we were acquaintances. He was a little bit older than me. He was in my fraternity that I joined.
Uh-huh.
I was done playing sports, and then he came back to a party and said, "Yeah, I got a company out there. I had a mortgage company." So I drove out here, got his card. I drove across the United States in 3 days by myself. I had a little
I
two-seater
love
car,
it.
all my clothes in the side passenger
Uh-huh.
seat. No place to live, no money to spend, and no job. I came out here because he was doing mortgages, and I first got in the mortgage business when I first got out here. It
Uh-huh.
was 100% commission, and I couldn't get paid until I got licensed, so I had to pass my license right away. So it means I had to take classes. So I literally had no money. I get to Glenn's house an hour before he leaves. I get here on
Uh-huh.
the day before Valentine's Day, February 13th. He was taking his wife up to San Francisco for a honeymoon, for a year
Uh-huh.
anniversary. tosses me the keys. He goes, I didn't think you were going to make it. Here's the keys. And he left. I stayed up for about a half an hour, exhausted. I had not slept since Memphis, Tennessee. And I drove all the way across
You
nonstop.
was excited. You was
I was
excited.
committed. Yeah. And
Committed. I love it. Yes.
yeah, so I fell asleep in the morning. I'm awakened by this guy,
Uh-huh.
Mark Lucian, who ran his San Diego office.
Hmm.
And originally, so before I left, I worked in D.C. I worked for Senator Barbara Mikulski, and and I figured if I could handle, U.S. politicians, and he goes, I'll crush it in L.A. and Hollywood. And that's originally where I was setting out to be. That I had a bartender. I was bartending, and I had a guy come in, a retired New York City cop, and he says, "Mark, don't go to L.A., go to San Diego." So I
I
remember
heard.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So this guy, Mark Luciani, called on the answering machine. Remember when you used to hear the answer machine, the voice of
Yeah, answer
in the
machine stuff.
background?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I go running downstairs, and I pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm a friend of Glenn's, and I wanted to check out San Diego. Mind if I come down?" It was raining when we just came out of a drought in California, '93. I drove
Hmm.
down. I
Hmm.
knocked on his door. I asked him if I could move in with him, and he said, "Whoa, whoa, Glenn settled me with guys before. I can't help you with that, but I think I saw somebody moving next door." I go next door. I knock on the door. I introduce myself to these two girls, and their roommate just moved out, and I moved in that night. The next
Oh.
day, how
Uh-huh.
talk about God working in mysterious ways, right?
Yeah, God does.
The next day, I go downtown San Diego to get a job, and only a skill set I had, other skill set to make money right away was waiting tables and bartending. So I get this job at a place called Pier Cafe. It's right down there in the village,
Uh-huh.
and I start waiting tables, and I'm taking a drink order, and they go, "Mark, you don't look like you want to be a waiter all your life. What are you looking to do?" I go, "Well, I came to California to get in the mortgage business. I just got out here," and they started laughing. I thought that was really rude, and I thought I was in for a rude awakening also. Like, wow, why? That's
Uh-huh.
so funny. What's the joke? And
Yes.
I get their drinks. I come back, and they said, "Mark, we didn't mean to be rude. We just are here at a mortgage convention because it was right next to the convention center where I was working. And this person at the head of the table, he's a keynote speaker at the mortgage convention.
Oh my gosh. God
Again,
works
my
in
first
mysterious.
table.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And he gave me the most profound advice I ever had. And everybody I train in real estate, I give them this advice that was passed on to me.
Tell me.
The only time you're working in real estate, the only time is when you're belly to belly with a decision maker, making flyers, doing brochures, doing all this other stuff you can pay other people to do.
To do it.
The highest producers are belly to belly constantly with a
Yes.
decision maker that's going to say yes or no to listing or buying a property. And everything else you can pay other people to do
People to do it.
because
Yes.
your highest and best value is being a connector and being belly to belly with somebody.
Yeah.
Uh, that's it.
And that's a part of our strengths. I always tell people to focus on their strengths instead of trying to do what everybody else does. And I
Yeah,
love your story because it seems like you was driven. Not only you was driven, you knew how to go and you wasn't afraid to go into the areas where you wasn't sure about, comfortable, but you was able to go there and work and network. Because I'm pretty sure
literally
that
98
restaurant.
hours. 98 hours, the world was completely turned around. 4
Wow.
days.
So did you go to college in Baltimore and after you finished college and just drove out there? Wow. So you
Yeah,
met,
yeah. Went to college at Towson, and then I worked in DC for about a year or so, and then
because I know you mentioned politician. I'm like, okay, where did you get the politician from? Did he come down and volunteer in the neighborhood that you said you lived at, or how did that go?
no, actually, I interviewed and talking about being lucky. I did have a lucky break. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Senator Mikulski hired me. I was a guy from the neighborhood. I was one of the
Yeah,
kids
that's
from the
what I was.
neighborhood that was bootstrapping himself, and I think she admired that. My mom was a Polish immigrant. She
Mhm.
was from Polish immigrants herself, so there wasn't so much as nepotism as much as it was just like, here's a kid that's bootstrapping himself to pull himself up. I'll give him a chance, and she did, and that went a long way. And it was
Ah.
crazy some of the things I got to do. I mean, really, really
She saw the
privileged
value
stuff.
in you as a kid. Your mindset was focused on doing more and serving more. Not only just doing it, you wanted to serve and help others because you understood the value of being a servant and helping and guiding, like bartending. You're sitting there serving. So you're
Yeah.
connecting, and then they're seeing your higher value, just like at the restaurant, you know why he asked you that question? Probably because in his head he said, "This guy don't look like he should be serving tables. He needs to be
Right.
doing something else." And that's the uniqueness about just getting out doing business, because you do business every day the way you show up. And you
Yeah.
showed up even at, I can feel it at a young age. You showed up just showing up saying, "I want to serve, I want to help. But I know more, but I'm not going to show you. Just teach me."
Well,
So,
it's interesting because I coached also. So when I was coaching,
uh-huh.
there were so many times where I just wanted to shut up and just listen to other people talk, right? But I had so much information that I wanted to share, right?
Yeah,
And
I'm like that. I'm always, yeah, yeah. But you know what? But when you got there, so did the guy from the restaurant with the that told you about the mortgage network event, did he sort of give you the insight on things and directed you somewhere of
that was the
guidance?
biggest thing. Like you said, give the company that good reputation, and he said value your reputation. It takes years to build up a reputation,
Mhm.
seconds to lose it. Literally seconds to lose.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And then in this industry, even like yesterday, I was putting out, I call it forest fires. You put out the forest fires, things happen. And sometimes you gotta, like you said, a leader. A leader is a quick decision maker to say yay, nay. And then every with people have that when they have their emotions tied up in it, nobody could hear. So someone has to be the decision maker and say, "Look, turn that off. Let's do this. Let's figure out the point, what's going on and wrong, and we fix this. Let's turn off all what happened months ago, the whole everything. Let's just figure out the problem."
you
And
know,
I like that what you just said, decision maker.
and find it to be belly to belly with a decision maker because
Yeah.
how many times where you showed a property and if you
Uh,
don't have both spouses there,
oh
right?
yeah.
You're wasting time. Oh, well, because what's going to happen is like, oh, I love this. I'm going to bring so and so to see it
Mhm.
because it's not going to be done until he
Yeah.
or she also sees the property, right? And then
Yeah.
they have to congregate and decide whether they want to do it or not.
Right. And I always tell people with the spouses, one might be the dominant factor, and sometimes it's the woman, sometimes it's the male. I done seen both sides. But they would never come and say, "Okay, we all agree on everything." It's always going to be something. Even the day of closing, I had one day, one time before closing, with the day of closing. Guess why the husband of 45 years did not want to close? The
Oh,
stove was dirty. Yeah, he wanted the windows and everything clean, but the stove was dirty on the lakefront home. He just really didn't want to give his wife what she wanted. And we closed. And the only thing I could tell you, it's heartwarming for me because 3 weeks after we closed, he's now still bedridden. He had a stroke. So
no,
I
goodness.
think it was maybe his health now. So we got to give grace in those areas. We never know what people are going through and the reasons why.
That is well said. We never know what they're going through. We
Uh-huh.
never know what is on the other side of the fence and the rationale behind their
Mhm.
decisions, the real motivators. We try to get to them, right? But sometimes they're too deep, right? And sometimes they don't know them either.
I say too deep and lost.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're lost. They just don't know, and they're scared to say, "Look, I don't know," or "I don't understand." So
That's right.
teach me, show me the way. So, and I think that's what we're about. I mean, I love this. I love, like, I feel so connected with you. Like, I'm coming here, I had this whole thing, 6, 7 questions about your industry, but just by you with this value, I'm a value relationship real estate agent, like broker. I'm that go-to. I hold my face when people tell me the stories. And in the back of our heads, we'd be like, "Oh gosh, another day of this." But then we the problem solvers. We try to help and guide, and the repetition comes. Our reputation comes from that. And only thing I can say, I wish I was in the market like yours, because your price points is up here and we're down here. But I have to serve a multitude. That's all I can tell you. How do you feel
Well,
about that?
I'm impressed by the volume that my friends back in Maryland, or like you in
Uh-huh.
Baltimore, the volume that you all do.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of deals and which requires even more connections,
Right.
our dollar amount sales values are pretty large. I mean, Orange County probably the most expensive county in the country, right?
Right.
And it's even more so after the LA fires.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Which I follow a lady, I forget her name, Asian. She Orange County. She does a lot of advertisement with Orange County with real estate agents, and I love her graphics and things she do there. But how is the market after the forest fires and everything? So are people still trying to purchase? Because I heard it was insurance issues.
Right.
Have that affected you and your business? But I don't
Well,
think so because you a relationship agent. So I don't think it would.
the biggest differences we saw, there was three categories we saw.
Hmm.
Those people who had kids who were of school age got
Hmm.
to stay in LA. So they migrated to Beverly Hills and other places nearby, Manhattan Beach, what have you. And those rents went through the roof. Like they had to pass a law about gouging because people were
Wow.
literally they listed for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home for maybe 6,000 one day, next day was 18 a month. Yeah.
Wow.
Because people were desperate. They knew they from the Palisades, they got money and they knew they'd pay because they needed a place right away. So people were actually gouging. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. And it wasn't necessarily a realtor community. I think a lot of times, the people who were the landlords saw, hey, here's an opportunity. There's going to be greater demand. I'm going to put my prices up. I can get a greater return on my property.
Right.
I mean, it's not necessarily a noble decision, but it is a a business decision that they wanted to make. So you know, can't say I agree with them, but I can't say I fault them either. I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and I'm just wondering though how like the future, have you heard anything about the insurance? Like will y'all premiums go up
oh,
for the next? All right.
through the roof. My clients. So I had one client that was closing on a property
Uh-huh.
literally 2 weeks after the fire, and the insurance. And this client had several significant other properties with an insurance broker who insured all his properties,
Uh-huh.
and it was astounding. If I told you that was it's over 50,000 1 year of fire insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
it
know
was.
he was upset, but he had to close.
He had to close. Yeah. So yeah. So it was pretty crazy. So we had the people who had kids stayed in local areas, the people
Hmm.
who were empty nesters. Uh, they initially came down and were looking to buy. Excuse me, not looking to rent. They
Hmm.
wanted to rent something, and they kind of wanted to test the area out in Orange County because we're just south of LA, right? And then there's people who had young kids who weren't in school or just beginning to get in school, and they were coming down. A large majority of buying because they could still buy, right? And we'll just
Hmm.
raise our kids in Orange County, which is not a bad decision because we have incredible schools. Again, you know, low crime, clean streets, great schools, and not everybody's nice, but there are really nice people and nice communities, right? And it's a
Yeah.
little different in the South where everybody knows their neighbors and a little more chatty catty a little bit.
Yeah.
But Orange County, it's the same.
Love Cali. Like I love it. It's so nice. It's so free out there. I don't know if the air is still as free. I love Malibu. I love the eating by the pier. I love it. Like I really love it. So
I love it too. So what we got to pay, like for instance, if I could turn my camera on here, you would see the clearest blue skies right now, and the view outside my office. I'm looking at all palm trees, blue skies, Newport
it makes
Coast.
you happy, right? All the time, even if you have a
Yeah,
bad day.
yeah. I mean, Newport Coast, there are homes up there that go 60 million, and it's like right over my computer screen. I see it right
I
there.
need one of those
Right,
on
exactly.
sale.
I don't know if I even want the taxes on that kind of property, but
So what's the highest, if you don't mind telling us, the price point you sold in that area, Orange County?
well, we have
Oh, you're
properties that have really started to jump. So a couple things in addition to I got to thank the mayors of Los Angeles for really screwing things up because you're making Orange County property go up. I mean,
Mhm.
here's in addition to the fires, before that was a mansion tax, where if you had a house in LA that sold for 5 million or more to up to 10, you had to pay an increased tax. If you had a house that sold over 10 million, you had to pay an even higher tax. So,
Really?
so all those people before those taxes hit, all sold their houses in Los Angeles and moved to Orange County, which put our values up, but our taxes hadn't gone up. You know, the county get
Wonderful.
more tax revenue because of the higher prices, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's just a different philosophy. And LA, I have one of my sons went to school here in Orange County, the other went to
Mhm.
LA. One went to USC, one went to Chapman. And the one in USC was in South Central. And literally the day we moved him off campus into a off campus house,
Uh-huh.
we drive around a corner, there's a homeless person half naked, literally shaking out a Colt 45 40, trying to get the last drop and then smashing it against his head. And their mother's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "It'll be fine." Yeah. But
Like, oh my God, we can't leave him here. No, no.
well, my
But
son
it's
in Orange County went to
yeah.
Chapman, and that's in a really, really beautiful little town. It's
Mhm.
actually used in a lot of films too, because it's still so quaint and
Wow.
historic. And a lot of craftsman style homes and Federalist style homes, and really wonderful architecture. And it used to be affordable, not so much anymore. But he had a completely different experience, right here in Orange County than what my son did in LA. But
So
LA is way more international. I mean, you literally have, you know, all the most beautiful people in the world migrate to LA or New York City or Paris or London, because that's where modeling jobs are, that's where acting jobs are, that's where glamorous type
right.
things exist. So people who fit that calling and feel that calling kind of gravitate to these areas.
Yeah, because I had one guy that did the Unbreakable Ambition podcast. He moved to LA just because of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And he wound up having kids, so they moved back to New York. So, but he travels back and forth still and sell both
Yeah.
areas. And it's pretty common, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
being bi-coastal, yeah, there's a lot of people here, particularly in Los Angeles, that go back and forth between New York City. Um, a lot of my clients here in Orange County, we actually have a lot of people who live in either Chicago or Dallas or even Denver, and they have like lock and leave type properties here with condominiums or a house that's got its own private security stuff, so they can go here, live 6 months or one day in the other
mhm,
state, so you don't have to pay the state tax
Texas.
here in
Yeah,
California.
that's what he told me. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what it
That's
is.
crazy. So when you go out and get your business, do you just go and do different events each month? Or how do you, I know most of your business now come from referrals, correct?
Yeah, most of my business is referral and
Hmm.
repeat clients. And thank God I've had clients that I've only had 5-star ratings, knock on wood, and I really care about my clients. I mean, everyone.
Yeah, me too. I do. I go over and beyond for my
And
clients. And
hey,
sometimes
oh
it's
yeah,
still
I'm
not enough.
vacuuming, washing floorboards today for a Matterport 3D tour of a property today. I was literally in the house vacuuming, running around the house. They just moved the furniture out, and there were little dust bunnies everywhere. And I was
Uh-huh.
cleaning up the house, sweeping, and really broke into a sweat. I had to change my shirt, you know, everything. Yeah.
That's
So,
me. That's
but
me. That's
my
me.
clients don't know. They don't always see what's going on behind there. And the one thing I try to do is really important. No matter how busy I am, I try to make all my clients feel like they're my only client,
Yes.
um, even though they're not, and even though sometimes some are more demanding than others, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
What about relatives? Tell me about that because I deal with relatives.
I don't do any business with relatives. I had, you know, I, but
Love
it's
it.
funny. All my relatives followed me out here, right?
Uh-huh.
And my brother, my mother, um, a couple friends from high school,
Uh-huh.
they all came out and they all live here in Orange County now. And yeah, so I don't really do too much business with, my friends from Maryland who live out here, but I see them on holidays and stuff like that. But um, I'm beginning to be more proactive with my marketing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. With your marketing, do they send you referrals? I'm sure they do, but
You know, here's the truth of it is, perception is reality, right?
mhm.
And when, like, I know, like, that's funny. I've done pretty well, and I've done more business with some people on TV, but they're on TV, and so like the
Yeah, yeah.
perception is they're
The
ballers,
persona, yeah, yeah. They got to put the image out there.
right? And so understanding that, and now that my sons are graduated colleges, you know, they're adult enough that I could go public. You know, it's hard when your family wants to be private, and I'm already pretty public for not only real estate but also when I was coaching in the area. So we'd go out to dinner, and people, hey,
Uh-huh.
coach, let me buy you a drink, and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just really wonderful. I mean,
But basically you sort of kept your base like what I'm talking about. You haven't got so much in the camera and online social. You do it with the relationships, the ground base.
no, it's funny. I didn't even have a functioning website for the longest time. I'm actually redeveloping it right now. And I didn't need it. Like, I mean, like, I got a web page at Compass that gives
Uh,
you a quick bio of who I am and stuff like that. But I hadn't needed it to develop more business just because it's been happening organically.
yeah,
But
organically. So do
yeah,
you have a marketing team? I know you mentioned that you're trying to get more on marketing. Or are you just like me still doing the relationship groundwork?
well, I've actually hired a group to do
Uh-huh.
some. They're called Ground Zero Media, and they're
Uh-huh.
fantastic. If anybody out there listening, check them out. They're really good people. That's the best thing about them is not only talented, but they're really good people. Like, I mean,
Yes.
good character, good morals.
Yes.
I mean, do what they say what to do. Everything and they show up, and they're good. I love them. I got two gals on my team, five guys. We just brought the gals on. They're our two
Mm.
newest members, and it was funny because we were calling this office the locker room for the longest time. And
And so now
actually,
you got the gals on and they're selling. Are they selling? I see
if
the
I
yeah.
developing my website page there of like the windows I want for it and things like that, and the gals they're good, and the guys are good. We got I like having guys that played sports,
Mhm.
or have a real passionate commitment, or everyone brings a different trade background.
Right.
Some are musicians, some are carpentry, some are pro sports. I mean, we literally have a guy that played for the Minnesota Twins on our staff, on our team.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we have we got a guy to play professional lacrosse in addition to myself, and he's a
Oh, yeah,
teacher.
that's what I was gonna ask you. You still do lacrosse. So you pretty much still active. Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. I'm 50. Well, I'm going to be 58, but yeah,
You're not 58. Oh
I'm
my gosh.
57.
You look really
I'm tired.
good.
I look exhausted today. Like I didn't sleep
No,
almost.
you don't. You look really, you're not 58. Like, no way. I was
Yeah,
thinking more like, okay, 48, 50, or wow. So
I
you
turned
look
58
like,
this month. My birthday's this month, actually. Yeah.
wow, happy early birthday. Look, you taking care of yourself. And most important, I hear what you're saying. You work, but you put wellness and health with
Yeah,
workout.
as a matter of fact,
I
after
hear that.
this, I'm going to finish a listing. We got a listing today with one of the new gals on our.
Uh-huh.
We got a new development project. We're going to be listing $99 for two condominiums at the beach.
Wow.
I mean, like it's just
Nice.
like I mean,
Nice.
I dropped that number, like, but it's still like, oh my God, like when I was a kid, I remember thinking, my gosh, if I made 100,000 one day, that
I
would be amazing. I mean,
know. That's what you.
I had no idea of really like wealth until I came to Orange County. I mean, I got associated with some wealth in DC, but not till like when I came to Orange
In
County.
Orange County.
I knew really wealthy
You
people.
you remind me a lot of the stories like I hear from Napoleon Hill and Les Brown, where they go to these big cities and they turn around and serve. They go to the areas, they gain the connection. They said, "Look, this is how I'm going to live my life." So the mindset changed, and you became, you know what? I could do it if they could do it, and that's what I try to tell people all the
A
time.
100%. And the biggest thing is be authentic. It's interesting because the thing I was telling my sons too. You know, so one of the things interesting, my sons are twins. So they're 6'4", blonde hair, green-eyed twins. Right?
Uh-huh.
And so people would stare at them all the time, and they would feel awkward growing up as kids.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't staring at you directly because people stare at twins because they're trying to figure out which one's which.
Yes.
Because I caught myself staring at twins and go, well, how do I differentiate between who's who, right?
Who's who?
So anyway, it's good to be an outlier, right?
Yes.
It's good to go by the beat of your own drum because people will find that rhythm, right? And they'll go, okay, I see the frequency they're on, right? And if your frequency is authentic and true, it'll be loud, it'll be magnetic, it'll draw abundance to you. Like, so I know that's a little bit of a metaphysical, mystical kind of teaching, like Les Brown.
No, that's my teaching right there. Manifestation, meditation. I have to do all of that because you have to believe. You have to believe.
Yeah, if you chase too hard,
yes,
you'll lose it.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and like me just being on here with you, I'm like, wow, I get sometimes people that say, okay, I want to be on the podcast, but the connection, I feel the value that you add over the years with your business, where you started from here. I love resilient stories. I love the stories where people didn't give up and they went to the different areas to learn. And because we wasn't taught, and I really, really love, and I'm connected to it, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I really.
The big thing that happened with me was that I didn't have a plan B. And I think when people have a plan B, they say, well, that's prudent, that kind of erodes your absolute commitment to plan A. Because when you have no plan B, you sink or swim. Like literally how they say, well, we're going to burn.
Yeah, I don't have no backup plan. Yeah.
We're going to burn the boats. And the only way we're getting off this island is by conquering it. Right.
Right.
And so it does teach you a certain level of commitment, and that's, I think, probably the biggest challenge today. Last year they said 72% of realtors did not do a single transaction.
And I'm like, wow.
Like just because you have a license doesn't mean you're a realtor.
Right.
Just
and
like,
then, yeah, you're right.
I can go throw football doesn't mean I'm a pro football player. Right. So. And
then sometimes they give up because they don't try to be that, like you mentioned, authentic selves. And I think real estate agents just need to really sometimes take those assessment tests and find out who they are, how they want to connect, and do it at their own level instead of trying to, like me, I'm more post. I don't stroll looking and compare myself with business.
That's a big difference right there. Being a poster than a scroller. And I'm so glad you talked about that, because I've literally talked to my son. One of the things I do with my sons, typical dad. Creators get paid, consumers spend. Right? Yes. If you create, you get paid. And that's actually why I talked about starting to do more marketing and then perception of reality, right? So I got to start creating. And because creators get paid. When you create, people see your value, they'll pay for their value.
Right.
But you got to create.
You got to create. Yeah, that's me. I got to create a little bit more. And I'm loving this because you're one of my best that I've had so far. Well, I've had great people, don't get it wrong. But just me being and talking to you, I love your story. Like from driving from Baltimore with your clothes in the car. Like I'm going to remember that every time. And maybe sooner or later we'll get to see you on TV where you want to show people a little bit. I don't know.
I'll keep you posted on that.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for being on Unbreakable.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed one. Talk to you soon. We'll maybe chime back in a few months.
Reach out anytime.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Unbreakable Podcast. I hope you're leaving with new insights, inspirations, and the confidence to take your real estate career to the next level. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow agent who needs to hear this. And don't forget, join the Home Chaser Network on Facebook and school for even more support, tools, and connections to help you thrive. Head to homechaser.pro to get started. Until next time, stay ambitious, stay resilient, and keep chasing for success. Coach Home Chaser.